Tonight, police in 3 provinces thrown into a manhunt after a stabbing spree in Saskatchewan.
When they can't catch them, that means that they're outsmarting the RCMP.
We made sure our doors were locked and that everyone else's doors were locked where they were.
An update on the 2 suspects and what we've learned about the 10 people who were killed. Plus,
we know the impact of nutrition on children's minds.
The plan to feed almost 1 million school children. Why some are concerned whether there's enough for everyone in need. And
we were spinning in circles, which brings me back to being a little kid.
A blast of nostalgia whips back around in Toronto. We'll recap CNE's successful return and explain why some are already fearing next year's could be in for a bumpy ride. Good evening. One of the suspects is dead. The other remains at large tonight in one of Canada's deadliest mass killings. 10 people were killed in Saskatchewan after police alleged 2 brothers went on a stabbing rampage. Sam Sampson brings us this update on the victims and the police manhunt still underway tonight.
A last-minute news conference with crucial information. One suspect found dead.
The deceased is Damien Sanderson.
The other still at large.
Miles Sanderson, Damien's brother, may have sustained injuries. This has not been confirmed. But we do want the public to know this because there is a possibility he may seek medical attention.
RCMP say Damien's body was found in James Smith Cree Nation near a home that police were investigating. They say his body had injuries he could not have done to himself, but they still need to look into cause of death. Miles, the surviving brother, is wanted for 3 counts of first-degree murder. RCMP charged the 2 brothers earlier today before they identified Damien's body. One question is, did Miles kill his brother Damien?
It is an investigative avenue that we are following up on, but we can't say that definitively at this point in time.
Police say the most recent possible sighting of a car Miles Sanderson was traveling in was yesterday around noon in Regina. Though Damien was found dead in James Smith Cree Nation, Regina police say they still believe Miles is in the province's capital.
That information is now dated, and we haven't had any updates from it.
People in Regina have been on edge since yesterday morning when the alerts first went out about the 2 brothers at large.
I just made sure, my kids know, and I told them, to be around, us, and we kind of stayed in the house for a while.
When they can't catch them, that means that they're outsmarting the RCMP and the city police. So it makes it really awful.
We made sure our doors were locked and that everyone else's doors were locked where they were.
Because of the intensity of the search and the fact that police haven't found him yet, RCMP believe Miles may be getting help to hide. Flags at the Legislative Building are at half-mast, a sign of respect, mourning, and the work ahead to come to terms with this mass killing in Saskatchewan. Sam Sampson, CBC News.
Toronto police are looking for the driver of a Honda Civic that hit a man lying in the road early this morning. The fatal hit and run closed the intersection of Yonge and College for hours. Ali Chiasson has that story.
This is normally a very busy intersection, but around 4 o'clock in the morning, it's usually pretty quiet, except for when this pedestrian was struck and killed. Police say a vehicle was traveling southbound on Yonge Street when it hit a man in the middle of the road.
The involved vehicle was traveling southbound on Yonge Street, and the pedestrian was struck in the intersection. The driver did not remain on scene.
That's what made this a crime scene. To help locate the driver who fled, police will have a lot of camera footage to work with. This happened outside of a courthouse and just down the street from police headquarters, so there are cameras everywhere. But investigators are asking for help from witnesses.
And police are asking if there are any witnesses or anyone with dash cam, if they could please contact traffic services at 416-808-1900.
We know of a couple of witnesses already, the driver of a TTC bus who was in the intersection at the time and a security guard. I spoke to one of his colleagues who said they saw a man lying in the traffic lane before being struck by the car. That man was pronounced dead in hospital a short time later. So far, the only description of the suspect vehicle is that it was a dark car seen driving away from the scene. If you have any information, you're being asked to contact police. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
We are still trying to determine if speed was a factor, fatigue, or alcohol. We don't know that as yet, but it is still ongoing.
Is dead after a crash on the 401 this morning. The two-car collision happened around 8 a.m. in the eastbound collector lanes near Nielsen Road. Police say a white sedan was heading east in the collectors when it rear-ended an SUV, crashed through a guardrail, and went down an embankment. A woman died in the crash. The driver of the other vehicle suffered minor injuries. Now over to Mississauga, where Peel police officers are continuing their investigation into a weekend shooting outside a strip club. One of the bullets went through the window of a popular nearby restaurant, something that alarmed customers on their way into the eatery today.
Very nice area. I didn't realize, it's kind of industrial, so I'm surprised that things were going on here. It deters people from coming, so maybe we should do a better job taking care of the businesses, especially after COVID.
A stray bullet pierced the front window of this restaurant early Sunday morning. Police say no one was inside at the time, and investigators believe the shooting started around 3 a.m. in the parking lot outside the nearby Her strip club. 2 men in the parking lot were injured. One had to be taken to the hospital. Just last month, Peel Police issued a public safety alert warning people of heightened risks associated with attending the club. They say since January of last year, there have been more than 24 incidents in and around the club, including a number of shootings. A City of Toronto effort to vaccinate youth at the Canadian National Exhibition has come to an end. Families were encouraged by Toronto Public Health to take advantage of family-friendly pop-up clinics during the Labor Day weekend at the CNE and the Toronto Dragon Festival. The province announced last week that kids aged 5 to 11 would now be eligible for COVID-19 booster shots. The CNE was a good spot for a vaccine clinic, especially since there ended up being a lot of foot traffic. Initially, organizers worried people wouldn't be as keen to return to the crowded fair given COVID, but attendance turned out to be better than the last CNE prior to the pandemic. Tyler Cheese is live for us tonight just outside the exhibition grounds. So, Tyler, they turned out in big numbers, but how are people feeling now with the unofficial end of summer in Toronto?
Well, Chris, the crowd was in good spirits. Despite the cooler weather, a ton of people still showed up to enjoy the day. There was some talk of the end of summer and school starting, and there's obviously some sadness around that, but for the most part, people just seemed happy to take one last day for themselves.
Well, it's the last day before school starts, so we thought we had to go to the X.
The end of the summer, school is about to start, wanted to do something.
Even on its last day, there's still plenty to see and do at the CNE.
We just got off the Barrie ride and we were spinning in circles, which brings me back to being a little kid.
I had a brisket sandwich with peanut butter and jelly on it. It was pretty good. Kind of sweet and salty, savory. And what did you guys have? Cotton candy, you've had ice cream. Lots of yummy stuff.
I like all of it.
After being canceled 2 years in a row due to the pandemic, organizers say they were initially worried about the turnout this year, but the crowd showed up. Attendance was up 10% compared to 2019.
But all told, we expect to be between 1.4, 1.5 million people overall for the entire fair. People are ready to return back to the norm. Even though there are still risks out there, they want to socialize and they want to be able to be together with family and friends.
But some say it may not have been as safe as in years past. A safety inspector strike ongoing since earlier this summer means this year's clean safety record has more to do with luck than proper oversight, says the union that represents those workers.
When they're not allowed to do their work, it means that we are not seeing certified inspectors making sure from an arm's length that what is being done correctly. So with the CNE, the propane lines and the food trucks and the rides, it's been a game of roulette.
The president of OPSU says self-inspections and retired inspectors were used this year instead of certified professionals.
And I feel really lucky that nothing went wrong.
As for the CNE itself, organizers are already looking to next year, but the future is all but certain.
We don't even have an agreement with the city and exhibition place at this point in terms of usage of facilities for next year.
But if you ask the crowd what they want, the answer is clear.
We're glad it's back and that it's open.
Now, organizers say they'll be negotiating with the city about next year's CNE starting this month. Brown says the X might be looking at a smaller footprint given a number of redevelopment projects. Metrolinx is updating a GO station, the TTC is expanding service, and a new hotel is set to be built. The city's also looking to revamp BMO Field ahead of the FIFA World Cup in 2026. So we'll just have to wait and see what the exit's going to look like next year. Chris?
But it sure sounds like it might be a little bit chaotic next year. Thanks so much for this, Tyler. So for many, the end of the CNE means the start of school, and millions of Ontario school kids will be back in class tomorrow morning. But there is some concern about whether breakfast and lunch programs will be served on a daily basis. Almost 1 million children across Ontario rely on nutrition programs each day. Sarah Jabakanji has that story.
It's back to school this week and the start of breakfast and lunch programs for students. More than ever, there's a need. Inflation is up, and according to Student Nutrition Ontario, that's having an effect on families.
I'm getting calls all summer long from parents that are choosing between food and rent. I'm having social workers call me this summer like I've never seen. Principals that are supposed to be off on holiday. Can you help?
Rising food prices are not only hurting families, but also having an effect on the cost of the nutrition programs themselves.
Food costs are up by about 8% overall this year, but the foods that we serve in the student nutrition programs, the breakfast programs, whole grains, fresh fruit, and milk's up 15% in dairy products. Whole grain, bagels and English muffins, toast, bread, 13.5%. Fresh fruit and vegetables, almost 10%.
Parsonage says a healthy breakfast used to cost between $1 and $1.20 each, but that's now gone up to $2 per meal. And the number of children needing help has gone up too. This year, more than 240,000 in Toronto alone will have access to nutrition programs. That's an increase of 2,000 to 4,000 kids. Student Nutrition Ontario says these programs may not be able to run daily without more funding.
We need more supports from not only the local community, from our volunteers, but also from provincial and federal levels as well.
Shake manages 2 breakfast clubs in Toronto's Rexdale neighborhood. She sees the value these programs have.
We know the impact of nutrition on children's minds, body, their wellness, and their educational abilities as well. So providing them and starting their day with nutritious breakfast help them do better overall, not just with their physical and mental well-being, but also in their educational abilities as well.
Sarah Jabakanji, CBC News, Toronto.
As kids get set to go back to school and the CNE finishes up for the season, even the weather played along today with the theme of summer ending. Sophia Kambalia is with us now from the Weather Network. And Sophia, I know that you are typically ready to mark the milestone of getting your kids back to school. How's it going this year?
Well, this year, Chris, I am not one of those moms with the chalkboard sign at the ready and the clothes all folded and pressed. I don't know where the lunch bags are. Backpacks haven't been cleaned out, and nobody in my house has been going to bed on time. I guess you could say I've been more focused on the weather this weekend, and boy, was it really a sort of fall-like back-to-school weekend. 17 still into the overnight. If you wanted to go out and get the beach tan for Labor Day, would have had to have been Saturday when it felt like 37. And then Sunday, we had this temperature downturn by about 20 degrees, what the feels like in just 24 hours. That sharp change made for some really low-level clouds. And that's why the air show couldn't get up and running on Sunday. It was a go, though, for Monday, but we've had some really hit-or-miss rain. So in the past 24 hours, we've had a rainfall warning in the Niagara region, storms along the Huron shores, but it's been dry for many in the 6. And that clearing trend will continue for your back-to-school week. It's going to be a stellar back-to-school forecast. I know I can hear all the kids groaning right now. Back-to-school picture timing for mom and dad. Tuesday and Wednesday morning, fairly clear across the board. Little bit of showers and drizzle Wednesday morning around the Golden Horseshoe and west end of the GTA, but temperatures will be bang on a degree or 2 above seasonal. And the warming trend continues for the rest of your back-to-school week. I'll have that in the long-range forecast. Chris.
Sounds good, Sophia. Thanks. So many students are going to be returning to the class tomorrow, and this is all happening despite the fact that teachers and other education workers do not have a contract in place with the province. Today, many of those workers marched in Toronto's annual Labor Day parade. Greg Ross was there.
It's a day to acknowledge workers across the country. But Labor Day also means the bell is about to ring on another school year.
No more cuts to public education.
The future is unsettled for education workers across the province. But some say to get a deal done, the province needs to be prepared to make some changes.
That they have smaller class sizes where every student gets the individualized care they deserve. The specialized staffing to support all of their mental, social, and emotional needs. Excellent arts programming, updated technology, culturally relevant curriculum, healthy and safe buildings.
And some are ready to go toe-to-toe with the province to get what they want.
Toronto education workers believe education should be a right, not a fight, but a fight they will have to protect our students and staff.
But for now, union leaders say that fight doesn't involve any sort of job action.
I don't see the need to have people up in arms about the fact that there could be labor disruptions. There's nothing to indicate that right now.
The province has yet to reveal what they intend to offer education workers in a new contract. In a statement to CBC, Education Minister Stephen Lecce said, "We remain committed to landing a deal that keeps kids in class. We have repeatedly asked teacher and education worker unions to assure parents that they won't disrupt the school year and stay focused on helping kids catch up."
I'm a little surprised at the tone because you started out at the end of July talking about job action and strikes, and we're not saying any of that.
The OSSTF president says it's not only important to ensure students are in class, it's also important to ensure they are getting the best education possible.
If we're looking at a world-class education system, and that's what we've had in Ontario in the past, we need to be looking at it as an investment and putting money into it.
Talks between the two sides are set to resume later this month. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Municipal races are starting to heat up ahead of next month's elections. And today, a mayoral candidate in Vaughan kicked off her campaign. The CBC's Meg Roberts was there.
I am ready to step up to be the next mayor of Vaughan.
Fresh sugarcane juice, a Filipino marching band, and a guest appearance by Hollywood actor Enrico Colantoni is how Sandra Young Rocco kicked off her mayoral campaign today. Young Rocco has been a councillor in Vaughan for the past 18 years.
Between the experience of what I've done and the knowledge that I have acquired through being a councillor for this long, I just think that this is the right time for me to step up.
Her platform includes keeping property taxes low, solving traffic congestion, and furthering Vaughan's art and culture scene.
You must work as a team. You must work with different levels of government. You have to work with the citizens and the businesses and everybody.
Her name will be familiar to Vaughan residents, but so are some of her competitors.
I love this city. I've lived here, as I said, for 35 years.
Former Ontario Liberal Party leader Stephen Del Duca has also thrown his name in. He stepped down as the party's leader after failing to win the riding of Vaughan Woodbridge in June's provincial election. With some big names on the ballot, some Vaughan residents are still undecided.
Too early for decide who and what, so we'll see who is coming around anyway.
There's a lot of smart, very well-known people. It should be close, kind of exciting to watch.
Well, I have to see who's the best. I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet where I'm going.
The next elected mayor will be taking the place of Maurizio Bevilacqua. He served the past 3 terms as mayor, but is not running for the position again, to some constituents' unhappiness.
It's going to be interesting to see who's going to take his place, and it's going to be big shoes to fill, I think.
There are 7 candidates running for the position of mayor. The full list of candidates can be found on the City of Vaughan's website. The municipal election will take place on October 24th. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Vaughan.
Taking a live look for you right now at the city's skyline tonight. It is 19 degrees under mostly cloudy skies, and it was cloudy through much of the day today with some cooler temperatures than we've had as well. Let's get back to Sophia Kambalia now at the Weather Network. And Sophia, not the Labor Day weather some of our viewers may have hoped for.
Yes, Chris, it was certainly more of a pumpkin spice latte weekend than a go to the beach and get a Labor Day tan kind of weekend. We did get some nice clearing, though, today, even though it felt, yes, rather fall-like. And that clearing, though, happened from north to south. So if today you were driving back from the cottage, you sort of brought that sunshine down with you and maybe even squeaked out a nice end of summer last hurrah sunset. Let's talk about back to school and back to school picture timing first. Tuesday morning, and then we flip into Wednesday morning will be quite nice. Seasonal. Sunny and clear skies for the most part, except a little showery, drizzly with that low-level cloud, especially Wednesday morning around the Golden Horseshoe. But then other than that blip in the radar that we had of this sort of cool, drab Labor Day weekend, the rest of the long-range forecast is a really nice above seasonal summer 2.0 trend. We're talking about the resurgence of high humidity and overall clearing. It starts Tuesday afternoon with temperatures in the mid-20s. Even the high 20s by the time you flip ahead to Wednesday into southwestern Ontario. More sunshine as we go ahead for this upcoming work week, not only in the GTA for back to school this week, but also in the nation's capital region with the feels like that will be in the high 20s and even into the 30s, and especially into southwestern Ontario. So a really nice week for back to school. I know all the kids are groaning right now after sort of a cool, drab Labor Day weekend, but we have that lovely Humidex as well with us for quite a few days right up until next weekend, feeling like the 30s. It's because of this big ridge of high pressure that will set up shop above us for the next couple days. Really low chances of precipitation as well right into next weekend. It's really reminiscent of a balmy August that we had. Truly the dog days of summer with only a handful of days that were either at seasonal or below. Everything else was well above normal. Chris?
Thanks, Sophia. We'll be right back. Finally tonight, an historic site marking the Underground Railroad in southwestern Ontario is getting an upgrade. The log house will have a new roof donated by a local company.
It's a very moving type of place, a lot of history here, and a lot of, as I said earlier, it's a lot of, going back to the days where we didn't make the best decisions as humans, slavery, what I'm getting at, and so this is a great form of reconciliation.
The log house sits just outside of Windsor. It was built by John Freeman Walls, a man who fled slavery in 1846. The house was used to help people at the end of the Underground Railroad. Ownership passed hands over the years before being donated to a nonprofit. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. Have a great night, everyone.